talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I also am just out of the loop, so I didn't know what was going on anyway.
Well, you don't pay attention to that stuff.
I
the way
don't.
that I do. Which is probably smart.
I just don't have the time. I'm not insightful enough to be a movie critic. Maybe I could be a food critic. These muffins taste bad. Or an art critic. That painting is bad. Or a video game journalist. This game has too much water. 7 out of 10.
This
How's
game
that
is
for
not
reviews?
Persona 3. This game is not Persona 5.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It says it in the title.
That would be the caliber of your critique,
Mm-hmm.
like the meat of your critique. Friend, don't quit your day job.
Yes. Well, welcome, Nate McKeever, my co-host. I'm Josh Broccolo, and we're here to review some reviewers, sort of, kind of, to talk reviews, to talk about the importance of reviews, I guess, or lack thereof. But we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Welcome to another episode of the Backlog Breakdown, episode 152. That's crazy. This is the 152nd time
So
we've gotten together
what
to
you're
do
telling
this.
me is that we're going to be having some musings on reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Ings.
Ings. Yes. Reviewsings.
That's terrible. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. That was horrible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I liked it. I liked it.
I attempt to be clever at times, but I'm really just like, I said it and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that one out loud. Maybe that's like one of those things I should have kept to myself. Shouldn't have shared.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Just like, there's certain well, and we'll talk about, yeah, we will be talking about like reviews and the review process and all that other stuff. But yes, you were asking a question here, Josh.
I was asking a question.
Well, I think you want to know
Mm-hmm.
how it's been
Mm-hmm.
with me lately,
Yeah.
because it's been an undisclosed amount of time since I talked to you.
Yep.
It's actually been about 2 weeks, so it's been 2 weeks. I can't even remember the original rip at this point in time. Like, this is how, like, oh man, it's just like you're gonna have to edit so many of the little jingle things in.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
It's gonna be lovely. No, it's like when you have a song as your phone alarm to wake up to in the morning, and you love that song, and so for the first few days, it's like you get to wake up to the song, and then after that, the song just reminds you about waking, like having to get out of bed, and it's no longer a good song. It's just a portend of the fact that you can no longer sleep and you have responsibilities.
Yeah, that's why I actually just went to like the standard fare alarm sounds that just
Okay.
came with my phone.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because I did that for a while,
Mhm.
and it actually kind of not ruined those songs, but yeah, it's like at first it's like, oh, this is like cool, like this, like you get up and it sort of like pumps you up a little bit,
Mhm.
but then not so much. But
Yeah.
it has been an undisclosed amount of time since we have talked.
Hmm.
What's been like cracking with the Broccolo household since last we spoke?
Man, oh man. Well, not to go negative, but I'm going to. Hey, a
Womp,
little bit of
womp, womp.
sickness has been
Oh
bouncing around.
no.
Just like with the kids, it's mostly just been sniffles, so not that big of a deal, and it has not been for a long time. But unfortunately, with Samantha, with my wife, she just got, it was like a cough and some congestion, but it just held on for the better part of a week. She lost her voice for like 4 or 5 days, which is just crazy. It's just, yeah, been annoying. And so, I tend to try and, map out my days and be pretty productive. And so then things get thrown for a loop, and I'm helping out more at home, and it's just, I'm not always the most gracious person in the room, and I get frustrated at others, and then I get frustrated myself for getting frustrated at others over something that they couldn't control, and you know, it just God's still working on me.
Mhm.
Put it that way. And so it's been all right. That said, there has been some advancement. I was actually talking with some friends the other day. Is like I tend to have a number of things to do, and then I always try and do. I always say I'm going to do more than I actually get done. But then I look back. If I don't stop and look back, it feels like I just focus on I didn't accomplish these things. But it's like if you have a list of 10 things and you get 7 of them done, I tend to focus, I guess it's more on the glass half empty kind of a thing, where it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, but I couldn't get those 3 done." But then by the end of the week, it's been, like 7 things done each day, so it's still forward progress. So, case in point, we were able to it was pretty cool. I was actually able to take apart our huge elliptical that was in our detached garage, and I was able, with the help of my wife, to get it down into the basement, which I did not think was going to be possible. But we could actually easily take the doors off the hinges and finagle it in there. It only damaged the stairs to the basement a little bit, not too bad. So that the reason I'm so excited about that is because that means I get to be on the elliptical more because now we have easy access to it, which means I get to play video games more while I'm on the elliptical. So I've been able to do that the past few days, which has been pretty cool. That's about it.
I mean, if
I
you're
don't
get
know that.
it, if you're sort of like stressing about tasks getting done, it
Mhm.
sounds like you have those things pretty prioritized. That's good. That's good.
Hmm.
Like,
Y-
it's like no, it's like I need to do this thing in order that I can play more video games. Like
Mhm.
that reasoning is sound to me.
Yes. Yeah, and it's tricked myself into enjoying burning calories. So, yes.
But
Yeah.
so you said that you guys had a little bit of like illness sort of rolling through the house.
Mhm.
We did too. Last
Yeah.
week, like we got hit by a bug, and
Oh.
it hit me on my day off, and
Oh,
then
wonderful.
oh yeah, it was. I was like, that's just that. Like, um, I woke up that morning at 3 a.m. like with like just like the fevers and chills,
Oh,
and
man.
like a headache, and I just like I spent like the whole day like trying to watch my son and not like dude, it was bad, and it was there was
Mm.
severe gastrointestinal distress accompanied by that.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
but the wild part was like so I was like miserable for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then that afternoon I was able to finally start like putting things in my stomach. And it was like once I could start eating and drinking and like and also Pedialyte. Pedialyte, dude,
Mhm.
my guys, do
Mhm.
not sleep on Pedialyte. Um
Gatorade for babies.
it's dude. So like here's the thing.
Magical Gatorade.
It's magic Gatorade. It's like
Mhm.
way better than like Gatorade. Um I I do like the Gatorade when you're sick thing, right? Like
Mhm.
everybody.
Mhm.
Uh and Gatorade when you're sick like it helps with recovery or whatever. I have no idea if it was just like a sort of like a 24-hour bug or whatever, but it was like I basically at the end of the day I felt fine. I was like
Oh, wow.
I was working on like
Nice.
Pedialyte like throughout the day. Like I was just like making myself like, and I drank basically in the space of like 24 hours, I drank like a bottle of Pedialyte, and I felt amazing the next
Wow.
day. Like I felt
Wow.
like no dip in service. I was just
Mm.
like, yeah, I'm cool. Like I went to work. I wasn't like how because like normally like the day after you're sick or whatever you're like
Mhm.
oh I feel awful but
Mhm.
it's like I was sick it's like I was like I don't know I feel pretty good like
That's awesome.
so I'm dude and I have no and again like I swear by Pedialyte now like
There you go.
I'm like it is the nectar of the gods and but yeah like I'm just saying like guys like seriously no joke it was rad. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, aside from that, like we've actually had like a really nice uh bit of weather over the last couple of days.
Yes. Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday after church, well, on Sunday we had our members meeting.
Okay.
We ordained and installed a no, the ordination and installation is happening in a few weeks, but we voted
Okay.
on appointing a new elder. And we
Oh,
also
nice.
announced that we're going to be receiving nominations for more deacons because we needs them.
Cool.
Um,
Nice.
so yeah, we're just it's like that was pretty cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
after that, I came home. I sat on my back porch in sweatpants and a sweatshirt and smoked a cigar.
Mm.
I tried to do some like writing, um,
Hmm.
but my cat was being obnoxious, so I brought her out into the yard, and then it's like you spend like 20 minutes like just chasing her around the yard, and then finally you scoop her back up and put her back inside. So, which is not conducive to writing.
Hmm.
So, but
Gotcha.
yeah, no, yeah, it's been pretty nice. It's like 30s and 40s, um,
Okay. Okay.
with sun. So,
Yeah. It's actually warmed up even more here. We've hit some low 50s so far,
ooh,
and the forecast has low 60s for a day this week,
well,
which I was like, whoa,
let me pull up.
that's
Like
crazy.
I think on Sunday we hit 50.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just amazing how different it feels. Uh, but yeah, it's beautiful.
oh, there. So
Hmm.
tomorrow they're calling for a high of 48, and
Okay.
then
Yeah.
Thursday,
Nice.
Friday, and Saturday they're calling for low to mid 50s.
Nice. There
So
you
and
go.
then we drop back down into the
Right.
40s and 30s
Yep.
next week.
Yep. Weekend
Ew,
gets cold,
ew.
but
They're calling for rain on Monday. I don't like that.
hmm. There you
I
go.
do not like that. But oh, dude, and it's not like a little bit of rain.
Oh
Oh,
no. Well, at least
it
it's still quite a
it's
while
rain
off.
mixed
It
and
could
it's
be.
rain mixed with snow.
Oh boy.
Mm, I do
Well.
not like. Anyways, let's not talk about weather. But
Yeah.
so Josh, like aside from just the general goings on,
Hmm.
what have you been into over the last
Oh,
couple weeks? Huh?
well, stuff that I've been into, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do think I've got a list of things written down right here of things that I'm into called my backlog report.
I like how your backlog report has a QR code on it. You're
It
getting
does.
fancy.
It does.
You're getting
Track
real
and pay
fancy.
your taxes. I mean, it's my backlog report. Um,
Tracking and pay your
backlog tax. Yeah,
backlog
for
tax.
having stuff in my
Is
backlog
that
for too
similar
long.
to like dad tax with like Halloween candy?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Just like that.
Byron is not at an age where I really get to enjoy the dad tax.
Mm.
I'm just saying, like I'm more than that.
Mm. Yeah.
But
One
anyways,
day, one day it will happen. It'll happen.
I keep. All right, I've just got to like it's been like bugging the crap out of me for the last couple of days.
Okay.
So there's a gas station that I stop in at work,
Okay.
and the other day I stop in, and at the register they had this little display, and it was Dove chocolates, but
Mm-hmm.
they did like basically like peanut butter eggs,
Okay.
like the
Okay.
chocolate and I was like, oh, I'm that look. I like Dove chocolate. I'd like to try that out, and I was like, well, next time
Yeah.
we come through, I'll grab one. And then today I was like, oh, those Dove chocolate peanut butter eggs, they weren't there anymore. Apparently, they
Mm.
got all eaten in the
There you
time
go.
since the other, and it makes me sad because I really wanted to try them. So now I have to like hunt them down somewhere else, and I'm
Mm.
embittered about that, Joshua.
I want those eggs.
I want that chocolate peanut butter. Um, I don't need it. I very much want it though. Um,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
anyways, so what do
Yeah.
you what have you been into as far as like why don't you kick us off here?
Okay, cool. Well, we'll start with a little bit of music here. I mentioned earlier about the whole alarm thing, and that was a foreshadowing because I just got to recommend to everyone out there because I love this soundtrack so much. Um, Set the Octopath Traveler theme song as your wake up alarm. Start your day off right.
No,
Feel like you're on an adventure when you wake up in the morning. It's fantastic. Hopefully, I don't grow sick of it, but right now I'm still in that
you're
phase
just
where, oh
using
yeah,
like
this is
the
good.
straight
Mhm.
octopath. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
because it starts off with some strings. Dun, 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 dun. Then the is it a flute? Dun, na, 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 na.
hold on. I'm gonna
Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum,
you
ba-da-na, na, 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 na. Okay, I need to stop doing that.
maybe you should
Anyways, it's
just
good stuff.
sample that in.
Yeah,
Like,
that'd probably be a good idea.
but now
Oh,
you have me like very curious here, and
mm,
it's like I feel like I need to.
need to check it out. Need to play it for
I do,
yourself.
I do
It
like.
it your whole day feels like it's an adventure.
So you're just using
Start it
you're
up
not
right.
like doing the break or the boost. You're not doing like the
No,
lo-fi
no,
versions or anything like that.
yeah, yeah. Just
Um,
just straight Octopath Traveler theme. It's not even,
okay.
yeah, the whole extended one. And when you finally beat the game and you get all the themes going in and out from that main one, which is fantastic. But yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah, I
it's
could
a
see
lot of
that.
fun to wake up to. Yeah.
We're gonna try
Um,
that. We're gonna. Yeah, and if you ruin this for me, Josh, I'm gonna be really bitter. But
no, no. It's fantastic.
I respect that call
Mhm.
a lot.
Yeah. And so video game music, I don't typically listen to it all the time, but one thing I mentioned how I stayed home, helped with the kids a couple times this week, and I got to thinking, I think the music that we play throughout the day, we have a little Google Home that we're playing music from. The kids will ask it to play all kinds of music that can frankly be kind of annoying. I thought if we keep it really chill, maybe that will help them be a bit more chill, and it'll help me wrangle them up if they're chill. And so I started playing both Zelda and Pokemon music, like piano music. So playlists of both Pokemon music and Zelda music played on piano, and it's nice. It's very soothing, and you can just have it on in the background. And the kids weren't acting particularly crazy, so I think I that it worked. It worked. My theory proved to be true. So that'll probably be playing quite a bit in our household, and it's just fun to listen to. It's just real soothing, real relaxing. But outside of that, a little bit more instrumental music. Okay, there's this band out of Texas, this jazz band called Snarky Puppy. I got to see them live right before we moved up here to Iowa, and their latest album, it's called Empire Central. Fantastic album. It is jazz funk fusiony, and it's just so much fun to listen to. So highly recommend that album if you're into jazz, if you're into funk, like that Tower of Power kind of sound. If you're into instrumental music, check it out. Empire Central by Snarky Puppy. That's what I've been listening to. That's the music that I've been listening to.
Hmm.
What have you been jamming out to lately?
Uh,
Anything?
I've been going through. So still listening to Rise Against.
Mhm.
Still
Yep.
kind of like that's been like primary, like my primary I'm trying to think of the album name. I've got to stop. Rise Against, which album? Like I should have written it. I should have written this down. Endgame,
Okay.
which is
Hmm.
I think their fourth album, fourth or
Okay.
fifth. But I've been listening to that a little bit, and it's pretty good. It's actually probably my favorite so far. Um,
Oh, okay.
and just I'm saying like as far as like the sound, where it's got like some they've got like and again it's just like I just really like Rise Against sound, their sound.
Hmm.
Because it's got like at times it reminds me of some of the more like West Coast stuff, like Pennywise. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm trying to think like my Bad Religion a little bit. Like it's got some more like those sensibilities, but there is like also something to it where it's just like yeah, and it's like I've been doing like a little bit of reading about them, and like they kind of were associated with some of the hardcore scene for a little bit too. So I did
Hmm.
splash into some hardcore, like some Sick Vidal, some Madball. Um, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a reason I don't listen to a lot of this anymore. And it's not terrible, but it's
Gotcha.
just like, it's just so, I don't know. Like hardcore is just a vibe that like I respect, but like
Hmm.
it's definitely like small doses for me. Um,
Gotcha.
like
Gotcha.
I like it. I like going back to it every once in a while, but it's like I can listen to like an album one time and then I'm like, I'm good for a minute. Um, like I'm good for a bit with this. But
Hmm.
listening
Hmm.
to that, sort of I so I also and this is not like something that I recommend, but you remember that Kyle Gordon that I told you about who does like the
Yes.
parody music?
Yes. Uh-huh.
He's got an album
Yes.
coming out and there's four
Oh,
singles.
wow.
And I listened to all four of them and they are hysterical and wildly inappropriate.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
so I listened to those, but again, I do not recommend them. But yeah, it's like as far as like music, that's it's just been mostly Rise Against. I did start listening to. I kind of been like feeling like video game music a little bit,
Yeah.
and I turned on the Final Fantasy VII remake soundtrack, and
Okay.
dude, like Final Fantasy music is just like just Square Enix games music is always
Hmm.
just top. Like it's like you mentioned
Hmm.
Octopath earlier, but like I was just like, man, like these soundtracks are just such a rip. Like they're
Yeah.
just so good. Like just man. So, anyways,
Mhm. Yeah, that reminds me actually, final recommendation is go check out the metal cover of Dancing Mad from Final Fantasy VI by this band on YouTube called Family Jules, Jules spelled like Jules Verne, Jules. He does a metal cover and it just melts my face and blows my mind. It blows my mind that that entire composition is on a 16-bit Super Nintendo cartridge. But then this metal version is just it's a fantastic cover of just an amazing song. Of
that is actually on iTunes.
okay, it's so good. It's so good. So if you're in the mood for progressive metal, that just yeah melts your
Now, I'm gonna
face.
have to. I need to remember this because I really want to check that out.
It's the
That's
music that plays when you finally fight Kefka at the very end of
the
Final
very
Fantasy
end.
VI.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
cool,
like this
awesome.
10-minute song.
Yeah, dude. I
Stupid good.
I found that on iTunes, and I'm like, I'm gonna listen to that.
Ah. Maybe not to wake up to, like
No,
Octopath.
no, that's more
Unless
of
you want
like
to.
a kind of like a get hype. That's like definitely
Yes,
like get hype
100%.
music.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but okay, so we talked a little bit about music. What about books and
Mhm.
podcasts? What do you been anything that in that arena that like have you been listening
Mhm.
to any audiobooks, any like
Yes.
decent podcasts? Like what are you into these days?
So mostly just audiobooks at this point. Haven't caught up on a lot of my podcasts lately. The first book that I listened through is called "Spiritual Gifts: What They Are and Why They Matter" by Thomas Schreiner. This is just I mean, part of the what I do at the church. I'm employed as the worship and discipleship pastor, and so just thinking through discipleship and trying to solidify, what I believe about certain things, and so just getting an idea of what one, we all obviously, for part of the body of Christ, we all have spiritual gifts, and we want to be using those gifts within the body to bless one another, to build each other up. That's the way that God has made us to live in community together, and intentionally put us together for that purpose. But I'm also just learning. I say learning, kind of going over some things, and wanted to get some takes and feel some stuff out about all kinds of spiritual gifts. So this book, it's written. Thomas Schreiner is I would say a soft cessationist in with some of the more miraculous sign gifts, and so hearing kind of how he comes to that conclusion is useful also, just because I am frankly, I'm just reevaluating that whole proposition, and what that means, comparing it with scripture. What does scripture have to say on these things? And it was a good listen. It was interesting the way that he kind of explained it. But yeah, that was one of the books that I listened through. The other one that I just started here recently is one that I've been like physically reading on my Kindle. It's a short little book. It's called "Fight for Your Pastor" by Peter Orr, and it just talks about the importance of the chapters that I've read, excuse me, are about praying for your pastor, and then the second one was about encouraging your pastor. So he's got a lot on his shoulders. Obviously, he starts off the book and he makes a point that, like, as someone who is leading a local congregation, he has just a lot of weight on his shoulders, both with the burdens of the congregation themselves and what we're going through, but also we have spiritual enemies, and who would they want more to take down in your local body than one of its leaders, so we ought to be, as a congregation, lifting him up in prayer and doing battle for him spiritually as well. So that hit me too. Part of it was just like, oh yeah, this should be a nice little short read. But that was a nice convicting kind of opening to the book of like, yeah, I really ought to be way more intentional just about coming alongside my pastor spiritually, and lifting him up in
I,
prayer. So
I mean, and I know that like it doesn't sound like you're finished with the book yet either.
no, just
Um,
started it, but it's short.
but I would also sort of just add to that. I think, like,
Hmm.
honestly, in a way, I really think, especially with like elders and so in a way, I can only speak from my personal experience.
Hmm.
Um, like I know that like it can be lonely at
Yeah,
times, like
yeah.
because like yeah, I would just say like I would really just also add to that is like yeah, be lifting up like your church leadership in prayer.
Yes.
Be praying for your deacons, be praying for your elders.
Hmm.
Also be a friend to them. Like
Yeah, yeah.
be like and again like and it's not to say like definitely like but it is difficult like I struggle with that
Hmm.
like that's I mean and again like diaconally like I don't and some of it is like again we're not probably being as sociable or whatever as we ought to be but we're also newborn like we're parents to a 1 year old um
Yeah, yeah.
we're middle-aged parents to a 1 year old so
Hmm.
there's but I would just say like I think a lot of times just from even sort of being on the inside like it is just it can be very lonely like kind of like isolating um
Yeah.
because like and I guess the way it's like you said like not only is he sort of like stepping into the pain and the burdens of the congregation
Hmm.
but the pastor is also like and it's he's also got his own life stuff
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
he's got like his own problems and stresses and everything else and then he's got everybody else's in addition to sort of like in a
Mhm.
way come up underneath and come up alongside. And I would just say like that is like, dude, even in my limited capacity as a deacon, and I come back to this
Mhm.
again and again, and I think you're gonna sort of like in time, you're very much gonna like, the more you get to know your people, like it
Mhm.
like it can break you.
Mhm.
So like it can just like the weight and the pain that sometimes we're called to step into.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Mhm.
And I would just like, so like I guess I would just like, and again I was just like, you brought it up and I was kind of thinking about, it's like I would just encourage like our listeners, like be a friend to your pastor, be a friend to
Yeah.
your deacons.
Yeah.
Like they need friends.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I mean, maybe they're just way more well adjusted than I am. I don't know. Like, but even in my experience, it's just like, you know, yeah. And I'm not saying that you're gonna be able to like be like besties with them,
Mhm.
but like, like yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. No.
That's a good word. That's a cool.
Yeah, yeah, it is good, and thank you for interjecting too. Definitely that applies for elders and deacons as well, like leadership within the church.
Hmm.
I think one of the other things that stuck out to me as I was reading, it was the chapter on encouragement, is just how a lot of pastors, because there's a lot of sensitive things that they are working through with other people. Oftentimes they're not able to share that. Well,
Yep.
I mean, clearly, like every time, if it's a sensitive issue, they're not able to share that. And so uh, it may not seem as though they are caring as much as they are. Like they don't let on because they can't, you know? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, no,
Like
I know
it's not.
exactly what you're talking about. There's so many things, like it's weird when you step into and again, I would just like, I don't want to, when you step into that, like, and it like that sort of like that inner circle of leadership in a church,
Mhm, mhm.
like it there yeah, yeah. All I'm gonna say is, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that your
Yeah,
pastor, that your elders and your deacons just can't share.
right.
Like,
Mhm,
and that goes back to like the loneliness.
mhm.
Like
Right,
there's stuff
right.
in there where it's like, I mean, sometimes I can tell Megan about it.
Mhm,
Sometimes there's stuff that I have, yeah, that I can't talk about with anybody except for the other deacons and the elders,
mhm,
and
mhm.
that's tough, especially for someone like me who needs to talk about everything exhaustively. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. That's what I've been reading. What have you been reading, listening to,
Um,
podcast, whatever?
dude, it's just, I mean, as far as podcasts go, like nothing significant, nothing like super major. Kind of been all over the place. I have been listening to a little bit more this last week, or this last couple of days, of like renewing your mind and some of that stuff. I'm just
Nice.
man, and it's like RC was just like, so like I'm so glad that it's like they're replaying some of the more recent episodes, or some of the episodes that I've been listening to. It's like they're going back over some of like RC's teaching, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, man, what a blessing
Yeah.
that man was.
Yeah.
Um, but then as far as books go, dude, it's the Fellowship of the Ring. That's like the only thing that,
Okay.
like, I popped it back on again for a few hours the other day, and I was like, oh, I need, which has got me kind of like, I'm kind of like, this is a bit of a segue, but like I think I want to pull the trigger on like the Ultra 4K Blu-ray Lord of the Rings set.
Ooh, nice.
But they're
Yeah.
they're a little pricey, so I'm not gonna like do it right away. But I'm like, I haven't watched those movies in a long time, and I really want to.
Ah,
Like,
okay.
I'm kind of like, I think what I want to do is I want to listen to the books, and I might want to watch the movies again, and maybe even just read the books. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like that's kind of just like I'm just vibing with Tolkien right now. Like, um, but that's all I've been like listening to slash reading. So
Sweet. Sweet. Well, that's
what
good
have you been
stuff.
watching? Like I mentioned the fact that like yeah, I'm kind of like very much want like the Ultra 4K
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings stuff, but I don't have that yet. So what have you been watching though?
Really not much. I mean, we've done family movie nights with like a Pokemon movie and stuff like that. But the only thing at the end of the day for the past couple days, my wife and I just wanted to put on something just kind of comfort food, if that makes sense. Turn your brain off and just have a nice little laugh. So we've been watching The Office, the super fan editions on Peacock, and it's fun to rewatch these episodes and be like, hey, that scene was not originally in the show. Like, oh, I notice when when this added stuff that got
Mm.
chopped out is put back in. So that's what the super fan editions are. Is it's like
Oh,
the
it's like a
director's cut.
director's cut. Oh, that's
Hmm.
super cool.
Yeah, yeah. So those are fun. Really, that's it. I really have not been watching much of anything. How about you? What have you been
Um, I
watching?
mean, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine has sort of been like Megan's like she's going through that. So, like
Okay,
sometimes I'll
yeah,
sit down and watch that with her a little bit. Where we did start like a watch of New Girl, um,
okay, yep.
that because that's like our show, and so
That's
like
your
we
show. Yep.
like, but that one is like that is a us watch. So like
Hmm. Yep.
the thing is like we can't watch it unless the other like I basically looked
Hmm.
at her and said do not watch ahead because she's the guilty party and a lot of that like
Gotcha.
and it's like I just want to like kind of like so we're gonna go dude there's seven seasons of New Girl
Whew.
which is insane to me. It does
It's a lot
not
of
feel
TV.
like that much.
Mm.
um but it's like that's just a fun dumb show and
Hmm.
like that's our Parks and Rec. That's our
Hmm.
office.
Hmm.
Like we
Yep.
watch the New Girl like that. But yeah, as far as what I've been watching personally, so there's a I can't remember the exact title of it. But I've been watching like a lot of Netflix recently. I, we have a
Okay.
subscription, and I don't typically check out Netflix. Um,
Okay. Gotcha.
but like you know, like I watched Pluto and I watched Blue Eyed Samurai. I was like, what else is on here? There's a show called Delicious in Dungeon that is
Okay.
going on, and it's this weird like slice of life kind of thing. Like, okay, the
Hmm.
premise is this: is that there's this like dungeon, and it like draws all these explorers, and
Okay.
this, anyways, it's about a party, and they were sort of at this one level in the dungeon, and a party member they came across a red dragon, and they were fighting the red dragon, and it was basically going to be a party wipe. And then the healer, who happens to be the one character's sister, she ends up like getting like eaten by the dragon. And as she's being like eaten by the dragon, she casts a spell and she teleports everybody out of the dungeon. So now it's like they're trying to get back into, and so their whole thing is like we're gonna go in and we're going to like live off the monsters in the dungeon. Like we're gonna like basically use the
Hmm.
monsters in the dungeon as food. And it's weird. It's but it's really it's also very cute, very charming. Um, and it's like basically a simulcast kind of thing. And
Hmm.
unlike One Piece, it has a very sort of like clear like end in sight. Like the manga just ended, and so like and it's not super long. So
Gotcha.
I'm kind of like I'm enjoying it. It's like it's fun and it's cute. It's kind of like it's like it's this examination of like the different like ecosystems in the or like in the dungeons and like you know like yeah it's goofy and I just love it. It's like one of
Hmm.
those weird things where I'm like it's a little cozy. It's kind of like offbeat.
Hmm.
It's fun. Um, but like I said, they're doing a simulcast. I think there's only like 3 or 4 episodes right now. Um,
Okay. Okay.
but the other thing I checked out was like, and I really like the He-Man. I really like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe growing up. Like that
Okay.
was my
Yeah.
jam. That and Thundercats, right? And so like I've seen the various He-Man reboots. I watched the most recent one penned by Kevin Smith on Netflix like a year
Hmm.
or two ago. I enjoyed that. I thought it like I know that there was like some stuff that was like some people didn't like, but like honestly, I thought it was like it was a fun little like romp. Ended well, and it had like a lot more heart than it deserved to have. Um, anyways, the next iteration, so it's like that was He-Man Masters of the Universe Revelation, and
Okay.
the new series like came out, and again it's a continuation of the Kevin Smith storyline stuff. It's He-Man
Okay.
Masters of the Universe Revolution, and this is like introducing like uh is it Hordak, like the Horde. So it's like Skeletor is like the
Okay.
big bad for a long time, but
Yeah.
at some point in time in He-Man's like sort of chronology, like this other villain comes into play, who is like basically like he's like the bigger, badder, meaner version of Skeletor. It's like, and
Ah.
he's got it's like a anyways. So like yeah, it's I watched the first episode of that tonight, and again, it's just like it's kind of fun. It's a little nostalgic, and it's got some heart.
Yeah.
But it's not like going to change your life or anything. It's He-Man. Come on.
It's He-Man.
Um, but yeah, that's what I've been watching. Is like
Nice.
some anime and He-Man.
Hmm. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
What have you been? So this I guess this leads us into our last sort of category here for
Hmm.
the backlog report. What have you been playing here lately, man?
Oh yes, the video games. I
We are a
have.
video game podcast.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about that a little bit. So if you've listened to the last episode of the podcast, I released a little review on Chroma Squad. So I finished up Chroma Squad on the Switch, and long story short, I enjoyed it. I can't fully recommend it, but I enjoyed it. So I was able to get a -1 first game that I beat this year. So a month in, and I got my first -1. So that was fun. I did play through, or no, excuse me, I did not play through, but I have been playing Super Mario Wonder. I play it with my kids, but I wanted to start my own file because I didn't play all the levels that my kids had played. I don't play, or I hadn't played as much as them. But there were a couple nights that I was just like, you know what, I'm not feeling Chroma Squad right now. Like I want something like more involved, and played some Super Mario Wonder. And let me tell you, it's a fun game. I
Hmm.
do like it quite a bit. It's really cool and very inventive, imaginative. So they do some really cool stuff. So I'm digging Super Mario Wonder. Went with the kids to our local library, which is pretty close, only a few blocks away, and lo and behold, they rent out video games there. So um, this was not planned, but according to our backlog beatdown rules, you get one negative point for a borrowed game throughout the year. And I
Hmm.
think we're about to finish this game. We've been playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge,
Oh,
and
very
it has
nice.
been so much fun. Yeah,
That game is
yeah,
great. That's
it
a game that
really is.
I need to go back and actually sort of wrap up. But yeah, it's great.
It's short. I mean,
Yeah.
we're only a few levels away from the end, so I should get that negative point by the next episode. Yeah, it's so much more like the Super Nintendo game than I had thought. For some reason, I guess when the game had released, I thought stuff was smaller, and it looked different to me, but it feels a lot. It feels a lot like that Super Nintendo game, Turtles in Time, except
Hmm.
like with more stuff, like a lot more stuff to do, and like different moves and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
yeah, really enjoying that game with the kiddos. Did play a little bit of Baby Shark on Switch as well because Penny likes Baby Shark a lot, and so we got that from the library. Um, Outside of that, we have a draft going on in the Discord, and the first game that was drafted for me overwhelmingly with like 4 or 5 points. Um, the runner up, I think, had 2 or 3. Anyways, the number one is the second Ace Attorney game, Ace Attorney Justice for All. And so I've been playing that on 3DS on the elliptical, and I'm having fun with it.
Mhm.
I'm only a little ways in. I'm on the second case. The first cases are usually just kind of intro cases.
Mhm.
I'm in the second case. I'm rounding the corner on the second case here. And I do think I have not a hard time. I was gonna say I have a hard time with these games. That's not true. I enjoy the Ace Attorney games. I only played the first one. I haven't played any other ones. I enjoy this style of game. However, I think it might be a little too clever for me, if that makes sense. I like brain teasers and puzzles like Professor Layton and those kinds
Yeah.
of things. Ace Attorney can be a little obscure in the sense that,
Well,
like,
dude, it's got the old adventure game, point and click adventure game stuff to it. Yeah. And
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
that
Yes.
can be a little like obtuse.
Yes. Yes, and it feels that way. It's like, I know I'm close to the answer, but as soon as I give a wrong answer, then I get penalized for it, and so when I'm almost about to lose, I'll just pull up a guide and follow that. And
Mhm.
and with that, I feel like it's not taking too much away because it is a lot of it's a visual novel. I'm reading a bunch, you're getting to know these characters, it's super wacky and crazy, and so I'm still really enjoying it, and I don't really mind. I'm not following the guide the entire time. It's just I don't wanna lose my progress and have to, like, reread or hold down the B button for another couple minutes, to get back to where I was. Because most of the time, if I haven't really been completely lost very much. It's mostly like I'm right there. I just don't know how the game, like, what they want me to present. I
Mhm.
know there are these things that don't add up, um so all that to say is I am enjoying it. It's just not my I guess it's just too clever for me, a little too obscure for
Dude,
me.
I don't I think that's just you're running into like those point and click adventure games require a very unique set of sensibilities
Mhm.
that frankly I don't think I I I just think I don't think they communicate w-
Mhm.
like I frankly I sort of look at that as a design problem more
Okay.
than um
That
yeah.
that's kinda how it feels because I'll get frustrated because 'cause I'm like, I know, like, I'm almost there. I just don't know exactly what the game wants me to
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
now and
That
now I do think actually this one's much more reined in than old school,
oh yeah, yeah,
point and
yeah,
click
yeah.
adventures, because it's not immediate death. It gives you quite a bit before you get to that.
Yeah, you get
Um,
like you get a few shots at it, yeah.
mhm, mhm. But I will say, I mentioned comparing this to something like Professor Layton. Even comparing it to the Zero Escape games, which take a very different tone, I understand. But even those, I feel like those kind of brain teasers and puzzles make are way uh, they're much more up my alley in terms of, okay, I've got all the pieces here. I can figure this out. I just need to work at it for a little while. Whereas, yeah, this one feels a bit more obtuse. And it's an older game, anyways.
Yeah.
But I am enjoying it. I like Ace Attorney. I like what they do with these games. There's just some minor frustrations at times that just forces me to pull out a guide, and then I'm fine. It's like,
So
okay,
and
I just
that's
resign myself to this is what it's going to be.
that's one of the Phoenix Wright games though, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice
Mm,
for All.
okay.
Yeah, it's the
Then
second one that was ever released. So they have the trilogy that they sell on a bunch
mhm.
of different platforms. I'm playing it on 3DS. So, yep, that's what I have been playing, but haven't finished anything except for Chroma Squad. So I'm still at -1. I'm at -1.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully that will change by next time, and hopefully not positively. Hopefully that'll change negatively by next
Yeah.
episode.
For sure, for sure. Um so as far as what I've been playing and obviously this month is I'm taking a bit of a break off of single player stuff.
Hmm.
And just mostly games in general. Um
Okay.
but I do sort of give myself the opening to play like if a friend wants to play some multiplayer stuff, I sort of open myself up to that.
Yeah.
And so so there's a bit of a story here. There was an acquisition made, but it's counting
Hmm.
as a patron pick.
Okay.
Longtime friend of the show, Micah, uh, yeah, Micah Gear Solid. He's been a patron since like almost day one, and he has never
Yeah,
made
I know that guy.
a patron request from us. And in a way, he didn't either. But he basically he was like trying to feel me out to see if I was like interested in Tekken 8. And I said, "Oh, not
Mhm.
really." I said, like, I'm interested in it, but it's like also like I haven't played Tekken in a number of years. He's like, "Well," it's like I thought it would be like kind of cool for us to play. And my response is like, "All right, dude, like that's cool, but what I'm gonna need you to do is like I'm gonna need you to do an episode on this with me, so I can justify this thing."
Mhm.
So I bought Tekken 8, and we've been playing a little bit, and like Logan's been playing a little bit. My brother Deuce has been playing a little bit, and it is so much fun. It
Oh,
is
yeah?
so much like, dude, like so like
Nice.
the other night, Logan and Micah and me got into a voice chat, like a party chat, and
Mhm.
then we like you can create this lounge, right? And so the three of us are in this lounge, and it's basically um it's sort of like winner stays, like loser passes the control kind of thing.
Okay.
And but then whoever's not playing, actually it kicks into a spectator mode, and it was like it was actually Megan yelled at me a little bit, not yelled, but because I was being loud and my son was sleeping upstairs, and
Yeah.
like, but it's like it goes back to that, like kind of like it reminds me of like when I was like the first like apartment I ever had, and my buddies and me would
Mhm.
we'd play Tekken 2 or 3 like on the
Yeah.
PlayStation, and there's the shenanigans, and it's just like it's been so much fun, so much fun.
That's awesome.
um yeah, it's like I did not expect to like that. Like I thought it was gonna be like fine, It's like it's got a 90 on like Open Critic. Like it's a supposed to be a really good game, and I
Mhm.
enjoy fighting games. But like there's something about this, like just like hanging out with my guys, like smashing each other's faces, like just like beating each other to a pulp, and just like that, like dude, it's like it's so much fun. Really can't just surpassed expectations. Like, and it's actually
That's
just a
awesome.
really satisfying game to play as well. Like it controls well. I forgot, like I played Tekken 2 and 3 a good bit. And I just forgot, like, oh, this game is like really, yeah, it's really enjoyable. Just been a
Nice.
ton of fun. I've also been playing with Parker, and he was like, "Well, do you want to play anything?" And I said, "Well, dude," I said, "I like if like there's a pile of like co-op stuff that we have sort of sitting in our mutual backlogs." And so we just like we picked something kind of small, and we've been going through it a little bit. And it's like from the PS4, but it's a Gauntlet, and I think it's called the Slayer edition. Um and it's basically just
Hmm.
like, do you remember the game Gauntlet at all?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I played
It's
through or I mean, I never finished the NES one, but, on Nintendo 64, I really
yeah,
liked that one. That one was a lot of fun.
it's just it's like that. It's just like it's like a
Nice.
it's a version of Gauntlet, and it's we've been playing it a little bit, and like we're like halfway. Like we put it like an hour or two into it the other night, just like talking, and it's like a very like it's a pretty chill game. So it's like it's the kind of game where you can like just hang out and you can talk, and you don't have to be like too like invested in the gameplay or anything. But we've been
Mhm.
playing that a little bit. We're like I said, we're about halfway through. Um,
Okay.
and that's been
Sweet.
kind of just like a fun one to like sort of like bop in. It's like very like low, but like yeah. So that's what I've been playing. It's like
Nice.
I I like I said, I think I've done like last night I played a little bit of like I said Tekken with Logan and Micah, and then Gauntlet. There was like I think maybe Saturday evening. Parker was like, "Hey, you want to hop on for a little bit?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I could do that." Friday or Saturday evening. But like because Tekken is a patron game, like, and I don't take any points for that acquisition. That also
Mhm.
means I can't score on it.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
just a game like um, so I'm still at 0, which that's I'm okay with that. Like it's a I've got
Nice
a
round number.
So yeah, it's that goose egg. I don't mind that. But speaking of the beatdown here, folks, it's time. It's time for the
Mm.
plugs. And as always, like as it's been for quite some time, this meta that we run every year, the beatdown here is where and again, you guys probably know how we just did like a bite size on the rules. Go back and listen to that if you don't know what we're talking about. But the GG app is the official app of the Backlog Beatdown, and it's essentially a letterbox style app for your game collection. You can do custom lists, which is actually how we track everything. Um, so like Josh and I each have a list. Um, we run multiple lists throughout the year, but
Mhm.
we have a list for acquisitions. We have a list for the games that we and that we actually for the games that we actually beat down over the
Mhm.
course of the year. And then sometimes there's like I have like some podcasts and preferential lists. I have a hookshot list. I've got all sorts of lists that I'm populating all the
I have a
time.
whole list of lists.
I've got lists upon lists, and I've got more lists. There's lots of S's in that. Um, gonna have to start putting my finger so I don't do that. Anyways, that's weird. But you can do all sorts of things on the app as well. You can rate and review games. Um, you know, and it's that like you can sort of give a 5-star rating and then you can write a mini review. Um, and if you like what he's doing there, and you get all that kit for free 99, right? Like you can download that app from the App Store, for free. And if you like what he's doing for $5 a month or $50 a year, you can get access to the Elite program, which gives you access to early builds and a special role in his Discord server, and by by proxy, more access to Charles. And again, GG is a really great app. Charles is just he's continuing to iterate and develop and tune it, and it's really pretty cool what it's becoming. We're really proud of him. We really like what he's doing, and we think you should check it out. Um, that being said, other things you should check out and potentially throw money at, it's us. It's this podcast. We have a Patreon like so many other podcasts, and we really want you to think of it as a bit of a tip jar. But it's a tip jar with benefits. So first and foremost, you get early and uncut access to each and every episode, as well as a video feed. You also get access to the Bro Hang, which is a patron exclusive podcast that more or less we record one every full length episode. Um,
Mhm.
more or less. Sometimes we miss, but it's we're not perfect. What do you want from us? We're just two guys. But you also get a special role in our Discord server, and you have a little more access to us through that and the Patreon and everything else. And each and every one of our patrons also gets to pick a game or a topic to do for us to do an episode on every year. Um, some of the games like Outer Worlds is on our list this year. Um, see, A Link to the Past is on our list. Persona 3 Reload, which just came out, is actually that's going to be a patron pick. We're going to do that with Wes. So if you and like listen, don't don't just become a patron to make us play bad games because that's not going to go well for you. That's all I'm saying.
They will
Um,
be vetoed.
they will be vetoed. But yeah, and we love those guys. We're so glad, and it's like the really it's the bro chacho community, like they're really a bunch of great dudes. And
Mhm.
Josh, I don't know, what do you feel like, should we give them a shout out this episode?
Let's do it. Let's do it. We got all kinds of patrons. We can just go ahead and shout them out. Why not? You want to just go back and forth?
Sure, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah. Why don't
so
you kick us
shout out.
off?
Okay, you mentioned him earlier, but Micah Gear Solid patron.
Solid dude. Wes the Henshin
Hmm.
dad.
Paul, the Techno Funk Boy.
We got the incredibly inedible trash turkey.
Dorian, all your basement belong to us. Dorian.
Hmm. We got the caveman lawyer who is also
Mm.
was
Mm.
a judge, Eric Bryant.
Hmm. Big chill, Alex Castellanos.
Yeah. We got the wonder from down under, Nicholas Porch, aka Porcho.
Mm. The alternate, Spike.
I hate that one so much. The wordplay. Ugh. Um, yeah, we've also got 11 and a half marks to talk about Mark.
There you go. And lastly, but not least, in the least bit, is Isaac the Wanderer, the Sojourner himself.
And you might have heard us too even reference a few guys. Paul, the artist currently known as the Techno Funk Boy, Wes the Henshin Dad, and Porcho. They as well as us, we're all members of this thing, this little podcast network we like to call the Play Well Network.
Mhm.
Paul does a lot of actual play stuff. He has done some nostalgia and some retrospective podcasts as well, but his current project is the Thorns of War.
Mhm.
Wes's current project is the Retronym Show. He also had, surprisingly enough, it's not really that big a surprise, but the Henshin Dad podcast, um, which is all about tokusatsu, and
Mhm.
like his stuff is fun too. And then Porcho does Nothing New Under the Porch, which is sort of just mostly he's just sort of satirical with a little bit of insight. Um, he's just a good dude, and it's
Mhm.
just like it's a fun show. His one of his more recent episodes, he collected all of his little like news stories, and it's like
Mhm.
30 minutes of just like absolutely unhinged like narrative. um but it's delivered too, but like that's you know what I love most is that like he has this like really like dry delivery,
Mhm.
but it's absolute like it's I don't know, it's like it's the pairing of like that, just like he's really kind of just like matter of fact, and he yes, he does like do the weird accents and the bad impressions and everything, which is also very fun. But it's that pairing of like he's got like this really kind of like dry no nonsense kind of like delivery paired with just the unhinged like fake news
Mhm.
stuff, and I love it. I love it. It's so good. It was so good. Like I was laughing almost the entire like 30 minutes of that episode. It was just so good. Um, but we love these guys. We love what they're doing, and we think you ought to check some of their stuff out. And so here's a word from one of them.